this, and there's a reason for this. My evaluation is going to be actually formed of two parts, and I'm going to, instead of give a sprinkling of ideas, I'd like to focus on one positive and on one recommend, so that we can draw a little bit deeper. No one ever remembers too much in detail, so I'm going to be specific here. There was something that Sina did that actually very few people, I think, in this club can do. And I don't want to offend you, but I'll explain what I mean. As a public speaker, you are primarily limited by one thing, and that is your personality. However, or whatever your personality is, tends to define how people perceive you. If you are a jovial person and you like connecting with people, you like smiling and you're engaging and you're relational, generally people will view you in that way. What do I mean? So when you come to do a speech that is a little bit more serious, like Sina's, like painting a picture, sometimes people won't always take your message as seriously as you would like them to. Sina, I've seen do Toastmaster of the evening, and he always had a smile in his house, and he was very connecting to the audience, and he was very jovial. I thought that was going to impact on his speech, because he had a serious message. However, he didn't. You were able to change, if you like, or edit your personality to a more serious side, which meant that we took your message on a little bit more than we otherwise would. We took it a little bit more seriously. And you're probably thinking, well, does that matter? Does perception matter? People vote for American presidents who have deeper voices and are better looking. That's why I've never won the vote myself. Perception matters. And if you can mould or have a greater variety in the way you deliver, the manipulation of your personality, you will be able to speak to a wider group of people, a wider audience, and actually you'll be able to manipulate people's perception of you, which actually is one of the greatest skills of a public speaker. My recommendation, you talked about painting a picture, and there were two things that were slightly, if you like, not congruent. They weren't harmonious. You talked about having baggage yourself and having behaviours that are almost impulsive, pre-programmed, and that was about yourself. You ended the speech about having a picture of someone else and that getting in the way of your connection. One was personal, one was to do with your fears and your emotions, and the other one was to do what you projected onto somebody else. And this is something that everybody can learn, so I want to drill down here at a moment. When you're trying to organise information and give a speech, you've got to consider your speech and the content of it as an arrow. You fire it and it has to go straight. You talked about, or you've had, should I say, a chair on you. You also talked about that chair being baggage, and that being your personal baggage. Maybe you could have picked up on something that was mentioned earlier on the club, for example, brown shoes, because who would wear brown shoes? And how it might get in the way of getting a job. Lastly, when you talked about a chap coming up and taking a sweet, or what picture is in his mind, that was talking about the emotions and the fear. So maybe your stories and your examples could have been more focused on what our perception is of other people. Create that deficit, create that need in us to be able to see that actually sometimes our perceptions get in the way. Once you've created the need, give us the solution. Well done, Sina.